Hello. Today, in this episode, I'm joined by Zoë Marden. Zoë Marden is an artist, curator, and writer. She grew up in Hong Kong and is currently based in London. She works with performance, video, text, sound, sculpture, and installation to create alternate worlds and speculative futures. Her work is research-based and is concerned with where intersectional feminism overlaps with the post-colonial. Her intimate performances play with the voice, activating soundscapes of desire and vulnerability. Hello, Zoe. How are you doing?
Hi. It's quite funny hearing my bio being back.
Yeah, I always find that that's like a really kind of awkward part of, if you go to seminars or whatever, and someone's like at a podium reading out someone's bio, and the other person just kind of standing there awkwardly, like you're
I
reading out
know.
about
I feel
me.
like I've read out people's bios often, and it's always like you're like, don't fuck it up, don't say the wrong thing, and then the other person listening to it, and then when someone's reading it both times, it's kind of awkward. I feel like, or I think it might be even awkwarder if you're reading your own. So I think it's
That's true.
better if someone else reads it. Yeah,
Especially if you're doing it in third person, Jamie works as blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I can remember doing that last year when like at the RC degree show when like a small kind of group of us had set up a kind of, well, audio stream podcast series type thing with artists like in conversation. I suppose kind of similar to this, but the artists that I was introducing, they had such a long list of credits, and there were like so many kind of biennales and triennales and things like that, and it was just like such a tongue twister. It was so difficult to say. Just thinking, don't fuck it up, don't you know. But we, I mean, we've not known each other that long per se, but it was the first thing that we worked together on was kind of last year, kind of the second half of last year with a Windfall, when you were one of our featured artists in issue 2, and yeah, we were just kind of talking about how that came about, and I mean, I think with Windfall, it's so difficult, especially with like a practice of your nature, that there's so much to it, and then trying to be able to condense that into the kind of 10 or 12 pages that we have was so difficult. But we were just talking about it touched on like tentacularity, capitalism, witches, raves, collaboration, kind of community practice, and how you use kind of speculative writing and stuff like that. But it wasn't so much about explaining the work, but trying to kind of create a structure around it, and how people
embody it somehow through the
yeah
work, which I felt like it was, first of all, it was such a nice process to be able to have this kind of like regular back and forth, which started really like super casual and us just like chatting and like kind of thinking about the work and like letting the work take us into certain directions, which felt very kind of reflective of the work itself.
hmm,
and and then over time, I think we had decided from the beginning that it was important that the way that the book was designed, or the pages were designed, wouldn't just be like an image and text, and how it would like kind of encompass the work, or like be a work, like design the pages as if they were an artwork, like each page,
yeah
and then have the kind of text feed into that. And I feel like we really did that.
yeah
It was like there was moments where it was like, oh no, is this gonna work? Is this just gonna look like a mess? But I feel like we totally pulled it out of the bag, and I feel really happy with the way that it came out. And I feel that it was, as we were saying, like it was a kind of a conversation that took us into certain directions that wasn't just about discussing the work in and of itself, like the medium, the length, the like
yeah yeah
specifics, and it was more about like kind of where it took you, what came out of it, who was involved, like the conversations that ensued.
hmm.
And yeah, I felt like it was a great process.
I think it Yeah, you're saying like the kind of article embodied what it, like it became its own embodiment, because I think, you know, when tentacularity is kind of such a driving thread through a lot of your practice, and it was trying to, I suppose, like page to page, that's almost what it did. They became their own tentacles that then kind of writhed over each other, but then also just the very fluid nature of what the text was and what it was trying to say, and it totally kind of made sense to do that, because we both very quickly realized that that's what the text needed to do, rather than, like you say, just be kind of an explanation of, this is a sculpture that does this, and or it's meant to mean that, or and
because I suppose it's not even like, what I hope the work is not about necessarily the medium, but like it's kind of, the medium comes out in a way, like, and whether it is a sculpture or whether it is a performance or whether it is a text, it's kind of all on an, I suppose, an equal hierarchy, or what I would hope for it to be, and that they're kind of interchangeable. And I feel like, in a way, the kind of concept of tentacularity really aids that, because it is about like this kind of fluidity of like allowing the work to take you where it needs to go.
Yeah, and not having such a, I mean, although we did almost kind of have it in chapters, but it's not per se that it needs to be read from start to finish. You know, it's like, it's not that kind of conventional structure. You can just kind of dip in and out, and even just paragraph to paragraph. And yeah, I mean, that went, the whole article went through quite a kind of, like, it went through a few revisions, and even the way it was laid out, you know, because we originally had it in the kind of window boxes that you'd get on a computer screen, but then quickly realized, oh, this is like way too much, you know.
Yeah, I feel like in like both of our heads, we were like, yeah, the boxes are great, and then we saw them, we were like, no, terrible.
Yeah. I think as well, because you know, that was, well, not early on, but that was like the first draft of the actual kind of visualization of it, and I'd done it and I felt uncomfortable about it, and then I sent it to you, and then I think you felt uncomfortable about it, and we came together in the meeting and we were both like, no, that's not working. Right, well, at least we're on the same page.
Yeah. But I think that was the beauty of the process, in the sense that like we had the time to like make mistakes and like realize that wasn't the direction to go in, and like have the conversation develop at a natural pace in a way. And like I think the outcome is a testament to that, because there was this kind of breathing space for it to be like, is it that way? Oh no, let's try the other way and like see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that like at Winfall we've always been really conscious of, is like I personally think it, you know, it's it is that kind of collaborative process. So it's not conventional, I'm writing, like an editor is writing an article on an artist and their work. It is like a very fluid and kind of exchange filled process. And it's almost like, well, I mean, maybe this is pushing the metaphor too far, but it's almost like we're featuring these artists and they're having like a kind of 3 months residency with us almost, or something like that, you know, and then the outcome, rather than an exhibition, is being able to have a feature article. But I feel that that's what it feels more like, and it's kind of nourishing for each party, you know. So it's not just like, because there is that exchange, and it's not just like, I'm going to write about this and you don't get a say in it, you know.
Totally. I think that always there's such a quick turnaround normally with texts when they have to be delivered, like, you know. And I think that having that space really was just like quite a gift, I think, also, especially because it was, you know, like just after the second lockdown. Oh no, first, what lockdown are we in anyway? Like literally lockdown 3.0, 5, 4, whatever. but I think it was October last year. So it was October
Yeah.
till December. So it like ended when we went back into lockdown.
Yes.
And then it's just it's been great having something tactile, as we were speaking about before, like having the actual book and like pages to look through. And it's just such a different experience looking at those images in a book than online. And even though like we're so used to like seeing everything online and like not bothering to even like go see exhibitions in real life, it's like I saw it on Instagram, it's fine. But yeah, and yeah, and I've been saying that I've kind of been sending them out to people, which has been just like so nice. First of all, to like I've been like really loving sending stuff in the post in during lockdown, and people just love, like I think the post has become a whole different thing,
Yes.
you know, like I feel
Yeah.
like people, I'm excited when I receive posts, like people are excited to like send it. It's not this kind of like annoying thing that it used to be before.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if like I wonder what it's really interesting to think about if that's going to change the postal service in a way.
Yeah, yeah, because you know you'd maybe come back from a day at work, a day at uni, a day at whatever, being out, and then there'd be like a small pile of envelopes on your on your doorstep or something like that, and you just be like flicking through them. It's like, oh, junk, oh, I can't be bothered, blah blah. But then now it's like the posties at the end of the street and they're bringing something to me, and it's so exciting, you know. And there's that total kind of revelation about I've actually got something physical to
And
hold and
it's
flick
your
through.
only access to the outside world, you know, like
Yeah,
that's the only way that you can get things in, like
yeah,
actual things.
yeah. Plus it also is like it's that welcome break then from a screen, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean we were like, again, something we were just talking about is the ability to actually kind of concentrate and being able to do things. It just seems so much more difficult now. I mean, kind of reading in general, but I would certainly much prefer to be sitting down and flicking through a book rather than, you know, stopping work and then flicking to another tab and reading an article online, because it just that
I
distinction
find
of
it
actually
hard
doing.
sometimes to do that though. Like I feel like the kind of addiction to like the screen and the media and the phone, it feels, sometimes feels more intense, even though I'm like, I really need to like turn this off and read my book.
Yeah.
But it feels hard to do
Oh
somehow.
yeah.
I feel like it's like that process of like, I recognize this is not good for my eyes, first of all, because like I feel like everyone's like eyesight's going terrible. And also just for like, you know, just a change of scene for sanity, like, but I find, yeah, I've found it much harder to draw those lines and like be like, okay, this is like the end of the screen time, even though I have like set all of like the screen time limits on my phone
Oh great.
for social. I mean, it's a joke because I have it all for half an hour, and so, but it's gotten to the point where I'm so used to the screen time popping up. It's like time's up, screen, you know, screen time's over, and I don't even see it anymore. I just click 15 more minutes, and it's become like this, like my thumb or like my finger has just like used to the 15 more minutes click, so that when it pops up, because like if someone's looking at my phone and they're like, oh yeah, time's up, and I'm like, I am, and for them it's like, oh, your time's up now. I'm like, no, it's not. 15 more minutes.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's like snoozing an alarm when you're trying to wake up. It's just like, no, it'll be
Yeah.
right, fine. But yeah, no, I that that is such a difficult thing. I find is, you know, yeah, you're sitting on a phone and you're thinking, okay, this is almost like my free time away, and I'm trying to like escape or distract myself, but then you then you get lost in it, and then you're like, oh god, that's
All
an
of my,
hour and I could have been doing something else. And
yeah. which is what I was saying. I've started making ceramics. So I did a course last year, and which was allowed actually during lockdown because it was education, and it was
Okay.
once a week for a couple of hours, and you kind of learn how to build, and then like learn how to use the wheel and you know, work with clay and all that kind of stuff. And then this year I started, like, I joined the ceramics place, and you just go whenever you want. And I find that it's almost like ridiculous because I have to be in a place where like my hands are like filthy, like I can't use my phone, you know, like you're forced to just like be there, like using your hands. And it's like, oh, it's so calming. I find it like it's such a relief. It's such a kind of, yeah, it's just like a completely different space. And oh, shit. Sorry.
And meanwhile, do you need to get that, or?
I know, it's fine. I'll come back.
But yeah, no, I think that's actually been one of the things. Well, we'll come back to like that kind of tactility, but that's one of the things that I've really kind of relished moving back up to Scotland. Is, I mean, not that we've actually been able to do it that much, but the outdoor space and kind of nature and access to it, because I always, like, I did, you know, living in London for best part of 2 years, I did love it, and I do miss part of it, you know, and kind of access to museums and galleries and just everything happening all the time, which is great. But I found it really difficult to then, you know, go outside because everything just felt so enclosed. And kind of growing up in Scotland, nature was always such a huge part of my life. So then actually being able to, you know, go hiking up mountains and stuff like that.
Mountains.
Like these exact ones.
And like the Scottish mountains behind you.
But yeah, and actually just like, you know, because in that space, then either you don't have your phone, or if you do have your phone, like for taking pictures or whatever, it's probably out of signal and stuff like that. So then you are like away, and that's great, you know.
I actually got a car
Wow.
like a month ago.
Brilliant.
So I've been doing all sorts of like trying to be an adult kind of things last year. Like learning to, well, actually I had a car like when I lived in Spain like 10 years, 10 years ago, but I literally haven't driven in that amount of time. So last summer I had some driving lessons, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a car and I'm gonna learn how to fucking drive, and I'm gonna leave London because it's like impossible. I mean, you can get on a train, but it just feels very different to like, I can just get in my car and like I can just drive to Epping Forest if I want, or I can drive to Norfolk, which is where I went like a couple of weeks ago. And
Right.
I think it really changes your perception of like your freedom of movement, which I felt unbelievably claustrophobic this past year here. Like I literally felt like it was like really like intense, the feeling of like being stuck in this city. And I was like, what can I do to make this better? And so I was like, okay, if I get a car, maybe that'll help. And it helps, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure everyone's feeling claustrophobic. Though I know some people who are like, oh, this has been great. This is just like such a great time. Like, just like great not having to see people, get to just stay at home and like concentrate on work. And I'm like, what?
I get that to a degree, where there are some days that you're just like, I don't want to see anyone today, and it's nice if I'm working and I can just sit behind a laptop and don't actually need to talk to anyone. That's fine, but not 365 days a year, you know.
I think I just recognized that I really like need to be around people and different people, and I think I always knew that, but I don't think I knew quite how much.
Yes.
And in this past year, I've just been like, like people I don't know, like just meeting random people, or like I was like, gone are the days where I would like be like, oh, do I want to go to this party? I only know one person. I'm like, give me a party where I know don't know anyone. Like I'm there.
I'll just rock up next door,
Literally, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I actually did that the other day, and I would like went to this dinner. I didn't know anyone there, and I was like, this is great.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think I've done the same thing where in I feel like I've always been an introvert, especially on kind of meeting new people. Although that may be like I think some people were kind of surprised when I say that. You're like, oh, you're such like a sociable, outgoing person. I'm like, yeah, but the anxiety is killing me inside. But but yeah, it has made me realize that kind of in person, like face-to-face dynamic and being able to actually meet people in person, that says so much, and I personally like really need that. And even in the last couple of weeks, being able to do that more and like
Yeah.
see some of my friends, and the tiredness is still there, but you get such energy from being able to do that rather than just sitting on a Zoom call or something like that.
Yeah, even though you can like gauge people's energies through Zoom and to a certain extent, but I think, as you say, like the energy that you get from meeting people, that kind of like boosts your energy, that I think. And also, even like I was talking to friends about this the other day, like I feel like it's kind of essential to have the kind of full spectrum of people in your life. Like during lockdown, you see like your closest friends, because obviously you're not allowed to see people or whatever, and so that it's very limited. But like normally there would be like multiple circles of people that you might like bump into or like whatever. And I feel like not see like I feel like you miss the kind of like random person you see like twice a year at an opening and have like that one random chat with, like
Yeah.
I feel like all of those levels of like ways of communicating are really like what make us human.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not having that, I feel like has really been quite a difficult time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, hopefully we're coming out of it, and
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But you touched on, well, kind of touched on tactility, and that you were starting to, like, you had started doing the ceramic stuff and making like little sculptures. But how's that been? Because I think what I'd mentioned in the chat with Lizzie was how I've found it so difficult to find time and space and headspace to be able to actually create, like physical work, especially kind of in the last kind of 10 months or so. And even though that was such like an important part of my practice before, was like the making side of it, but I just like don't feel like I've been able to do that. So how's that been? And like, do you feel like it's, taking your practice in new directions, or like,
I don't know. I mean, I'm such a kind of novice to the ceramic process, and I've just been literally just like going with what I'm feeling and like not giving a shit what comes out. I'm like, I don't have to show this to anyone. Like, this is just like figuring out if this is something that makes sense for me. So I don't know. Like, I just know that I've really enjoyed it. I've really like felt just like I don't know, it just feels like a nice feeling, and so that's all I care about right now. Like I'm like, I like this feels good, cool, I'm going to continue and see what happens. So with that, I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses, even though I've also found it extremely hard to find the time to do it, and trying to get there at least once a week, but I'm even having a hard time doing that. So I did actually just glaze a whole bunch of the ones that I've made, so I have to go and see. I haven't even gone to see what they look like yet. So yeah, hopefully next week I can do that. And then I've also been doing this watercolor series on the major arcana and tarot, which has been really great because I've been reading tarot for like 5-6 years on and off, and it before it was a quite a big part of my practice. I was like kind of using it as a tool to make work, and then it kind of, I feel like I overdid it for a bit, and I kind of needed some time out from it, and now I've kind of come back to it with a different approach. So what I've been doing is kind of researching a certain card, like looking up all of the different interpretations of the card, like listening to podcasts about the card, like writing about it, and then kind of bringing it together in a watercolor. So it's like a really fun process in terms of like actually making the watercolor, but also to learn about the card and like kind of reignite the practice. And I was doing it. There was this kind of group a Zoom drawing session that would happen every Friday for 2 hours. And annoyingly, it's on a pause at the moment, but it was so good because it was like we knew that it was like we couldn't be late. It was very strict. You had to be there at the time, and you had to stay till the end.
Right.
And there was this soundtrack that would play. It would like be a different kind of amazing playlist each time. So you would sit on Zoom with people and all draw together or paint together.
And was it almost like a digital life drawing class, or was it like just
No.
drawing whatever, you know?
Yeah, it was more like just accountability. So like you would make time for it.
Yeah.
And also it was just nice because you would have everyone on Zoom, and everyone was on the like most people had their cameras on, so you kind of just like saw people like in their houses doing the, you know, drawing, painting, whatever. So that, I feel like that and that's been one of the best kind of Zoom gatherings that I've had, I think, in a while. Like I think that was just a really wonderful experience.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I can remember last year, you know, like, well, kind of right at the beginning of lockdown, when I initially moved back up to Glasgow, and before the kind of onslaught of everything digital, especially in like lead up to degree show at the time and stuff, I just started doing some watercolors and some like little kind of pen drawings and stuff like that. And it was just like that complete extraction from, no, I'm not doing anything. And it doesn't even need to be relevant or kind of with my practice. It was just like you say, it kind of felt good, and it felt nice to just be kind of painting and right back to basics, where you're just like sitting at a table, an A4 sheet of paper, and, you know, just and that just felt so nourishing, you know. But on a more positive note, you saying you were you'd done a project just earlier this year that was collaborating with a designer, and that you said that was like a completely different kind of collaborative approach compared to what you'd done previously. So do you want to talk a wee bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very different, it was a collaboration with Osman, and it was to make a video for Fashion Week, February Fashion Week. So it was different because I first of all had never worked with that many people before, and like organized a shoot and like dealt with that kind of equipment, and that was quite a huge learning curve for me. I was also like producing the shoot, managing the budget, like, you know, dealing with the models. Luckily, like obviously like the clothes and the makeup and the styling and all of that was done by Osman. And we came up and conceptualized the video together. But I feel like most of the time I shoot everything myself, or like maybe I've worked with one other camera person. So this was like, you know, we had like 2 lighting people, we had like a director of photography, like we had a full like track, equipment, lighting, like it was like a whole thing in like a massive studio, and we had like a full day of shooting. And so that was like something I'd never experienced before, and it was amazing. I loved it. So like I was co-directing with Osman, And yeah, I'm really happy with the way that it came out. And I also invited a friend of mine who's a singer who's based in the Caribbean, and I asked her, I commissioned her to make a song for it, and it was kind of a song that she wrote in collaboration with a producer friend of hers in the Caribbean, and then Osman had also written this poem. So it was kind of basically like, it was quite amazing because like there was so many different contributions and everything kind of like fused together and overlapped. So like the poem came into the song, and then and then the song was like what we helped to lay the track of the video. And then we also had these amazing people who were playing the drums in Pakistan that Osman had asked to play, so like their music came in as well. It was nuts. Like I'd never kind of like tried to conceptualize something that had so many moving parts. Like all of the moving parts like were a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we were also like, the kind of idea was also that this kind of Zoom conference, so the idea was like bringing in people from different parts of the world to like communicate with the world that we created in the studio. So we had like these different like Zoom boxes that we were playing with, and like, yeah, I feel like it was a real, I feel like it was a real step up in responsibility and like managing like such a large team. But it was like a very, I felt really good about it, and it felt like I was like, okay, cool, I can do this, and like maybe I want to do this more.
Mm, mm.
um,
I mean, I saw the video, and it was just stunning. Like the lighting and the way it was produced, and all the shots, and what you're saying, like the way it kind of the separate kind of window boxes, and it was just, I was totally entranced by it. I thought it was incredible. So yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can't even take the credit. There was just so many amazing and really skilled people involved who really pulled out all their shots, and like working with the director of photography, who really like understood the vision and was able to like capture it with this like amazing Blackmagic 6K camera. And like,
Brilliant.
and like they were the people who did the lighting were also, it was just like, it was just a wonderful team. And I've never worked with like a team like that before. So,
Mm.
and that was also just really nice in the midst of the pandemic, and because you were allowed to shoot, like shooting was allowed. So
Mm.
um and also maybe sometimes my practice, um like when I'm making video, can be a bit more like solitary. So I feel like it really opened up the possibility for me to work in that way that I want to try and pursue, which was really great.
Brilliant, brilliant. But I mean, like, even if you did feel that that was like a kind of more of a step up in kind of production and management wise, but collaboration and working with other people is such kind of a vital part of your practice anyway. And you know, you've got multiple collaborative projects on the go with Purple Velvet, or and more specifically the Camper Van as well. So do you want to like speak a bit about Camper Van, because you said that you've hopefully got something kind of on the go this year, hopefully.
Yeah, we've kind of come back together, and we are basically in the midst of trying to finish up this Arts Council application, which will be for 3 events over the summer: London, Manchester, and Wising. So we were invited to participate at Wising Festival, which is really amazing. So we're kind of hoping for funding for all of that, and then also to like contribute to some renovation costs, because it's really falling apart. Like it's kind of being held together by gaffer tape right now. And like we had to move it from Tottenham to Walthamstow, and I like was like, Samuel was like, I think you should drive behind me just in case. And I was like, What do you mean, just in case? So
In
like,
case of what?
if it like falls backwards, it lands on me.
Me?
I was like, I don't know about this. He was like, no, just so you can watch out for the lights, and like, so I did, but it was, yeah. I feel like, I mean, hopefully we'll get the money and it'll be great. But that said, we've also performed and like done work without the actual band, so I think it's more like we have the headspace at the moment because all three of us all have like other million other jobs, and prioritizing the camper van didn't seem very feasible in 2020. But now we all have the kind of headspace and the time to give to it. So it feels quite exciting. And the idea is for us to do these 3 events for this summer, and then to apply for like a larger fund for a regional tour of the UK.
That'd be incredible.
So like we would like plan like a proper tour like around which has been our plan since like 2016. So we really want to make that happen. Yeah, which is really exciting. So
yeah. Especially when you've had a project and you've done stuff together before, and then there's that kind of what's the word, there's that kind of delay or that kind of dead space in between, but then coming back to it with like a renewed energy. That's like super exciting. And also now with things kind of reopening and kind of events hopefully starting to happen again, I think it's like such a perfect time, because then the energy from places you're visiting will be so much more as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it just feels like it makes sense, and everyone feels kind of like enthusiastic and energized, which is a good place for us to be.
I'd asked everyone to create a well, in creating like a soundtrack, like tracks to Topia, which is kind of a mad idea that came to me, where everyone, like, we all just kind of jump in a ship because it's the end of the world, and like, what do people actually want playing, when we're on the ship. So kind of surprisingly, actually, both Lizzie and Fabio, who I've spoken with, they both imagined it as like a sailing ship, but then I thought of a spacecraft, and I don't know why.
Wow.
I take it do you thought as like a sailing kind of water ship as well?
Know if what I imagined it as. Now that you're saying that, what I'm imagining, like in Peter Pan, and then the sailing ship like goes up in, like, it's like the sailing ship comes out of the water and then it goes up into the sky. Like, that's what I'm imagining now.
that's I think that's much better, because then that's just like a kind of an amalgamation of the two. It's even, yeah. Are these things that you're like listening to right now, or?
Yeah, like right now and through the year, I was listening. I mean, I always listen to Janet Jackson, but I've been listening to Janet Jackson again more, and specifically that album, because it's just like the most iconic album of like the world. And the Kokoroko album is also amazing, just like such good vibes. Like, if you're feeling anxious and stressed, like, I definitely listen to that. Also, like Wizkid, just like if you want to dance, that's what I listen to. Also Christine and the Queens is like the whole album, but People I've Been Sad, for some reason, like, I feel like when I'm feeling sad I listen to it. And also the Miley Cyrus album I was never a Miley Cyrus fan at all, but this album literally is so fucking good, the whole album. Yeah.
I've not actually listened to that album. No, but I've listened to Christine and the Queens before, and I can remember way back last year in lockdown, when they were on the Graham Norton show, and they'd done like a kind of home performance, because that was before like they could actually have people in the studio and stuff.
That was so
And it was
good.
brilliant. Like, so like the kind of concept behind it and being able to do it, and because I think, was it like through the phone or something, but then there was multiple perspectives, and yeah, that was just a brilliant performance.
Yeah, maybe let's play Christine and the Queens then.
Brilliant, great choice. Well, thank you very much.
Her videos are also really good, and all of her dancing. I feel like I like.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much for this conversation. That's been brilliant. It's been so nice to kind of rethink like what the Windfall article was, but then or was trying to be, and hopefully did. But then also just kind of what else you've been up to, because I think this idea of tactility and actually kind of in-person stuff and post and what these all kind of mean for the future, I think there's going to be a real shift in how kind of people perceive things, but I don't know how that's going to go. So it's
I think it'll be hard to pull people away from the digital. I think it's hard in general, just to like, it is a very intoxicating space and amazing and really inspiring in many ways, but I feel can be also very detrimental to one's like sanity. And I think the need for kind of like nature, I think that's also something that I found that hit me the hardest, was like this need to be in nature and to like be in a different kind of realm. And I feel like that's something I feel like a lot of people have taken away from that, like a need to reconnect with nature.
I like kind of, as I mentioned earlier, I'm definitely privileged in being able to kind of access it so easily, you know, from where I live. But it's that kind of reconnection and hopefully not leaving of, but the partial escape from digital realities is it's obviously a necessity for our bodies that we maybe didn't realize.
Totally.
But yes, thank you very much, and I'll put all your tags and everything like that in the bottom, so make sure to check out Zoe's own Instagram website and everything like that. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
It's true that people have been sad. It's true that people have been gone. It's true that people have been missing out. Missing out for way too long. It's just that me, myself and been missing out for way too long. Been taking cause I should have missing out. Forsaking things for way too long. If you disappear, then I'm disappearing too. You know the feeling, you know the feeling. If you fall apart, then I'm falling behind you. You know the feeling, you know the feeling. Les gens reviennent et parlent mal. Des sentiments qui pourtant comptent. Prise au piège de quelque chose de fort. Je n'ai décroché pour personne. If you disappear, then I'm disappearing too. You know the feeling, you know the feeling. If you fall apart, then I'm falling behind you. You know the feeling, you know the feeling. marcher pieds nus sur du fer et maintenant tout est plus fort. Adolescence contrariée par un millier de remords. Maintenant quand je ressens quelque chose, tout est bien plus fort. Adolescence contrariée par un millier de chars de mort. Marcher pieds nus sur du fer et maintenant tout est plus fort. Adolescence contrariée par une solitude folle. Maintenant quand je suis dehors, le soleil me brûle encore. Il parle si mal, tellement il compte. Quelque chose de fort. Jamais pour personne. Baby, for you, disappear the night. You know the feeling, you know the feeling. If you fall apart the night. You know the feeling, you know the feeling. If you disappear the night. You know the feeling, you know the feeling. If you fall apart the night. You know the feeling, you know the feeling.